Welcome, everyone, to the Frequency of Success. Today, we have such an amazing guest, Helen Millar, and she's coming to us all the way from London. I'm so excited. Let me just tell you a little bit about Helen so um, we could just sort of let you know who she is, and then she can take it away from there. So, Helen Millar is a black sheep, passionate, creative, sensitive, rebel, and change activator. She founded Heart Healer, an international business coach, award-winning actress, speaker, and ceremonialist. Supporting change makers of all kinds, she is regularly invited to some of the world's leading business schools to train in emotional intelligence. I just love Helen so much. Okay. She has held cacao ceremonies for celebrities and had her work featured on the Discovery Channel, shown on three continents. Believing in the heart holds the key to our, now I'm going to cry, authentic, happy, healthy, and prosperous blueprint. Helen works with everything from trauma to finance to help you transform your life into the one you are truly here to live. Let that land. Okay, here's a little deeper about Helen. Growing up in London as a suicidal, addicted atheist turned Buddhist leader in London, her quest to surrender to God continues. Having battled numerous life changes since birth, her quest to stay alive has seen her on an epic journey around the planet and some of the cosmos in search of deeper meaning to it all. She has helped thousands of people reclaim their power through listening to their hearts and take the leap, make a shift from head to heart living. So that's Helen. And honestly, we can't ask for more. So welcome to the Frequency of Success.
Thank you. You've made me all embarrassed. That's such a beautiful introduction. Thank you very much. It's an absolute honor to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. And today, Helen and I were discussing what is the best, most juicy nugget and value that she can bring to you today. So, our conversation today is around, ready? Leaping into the scary unknown for success beyond your wildest dreams. So, Helen, why don't you share a little bit with us about your background and take it away?
Okay, so welcome to everybody who's tuning in. Great to connect on the energetic levels. I, my background. So my memory of what my life was like, and then my actual realization when I was in my 30s of what my life was like are two different things because I blocked out a huge chunk of my childhood and consequently thought that I was just a wrong human being and I was broken from birth and I didn't understand the way I was. I was constantly like in a cycle of trying to fix myself. First of all, I was in a cycle of trying to not be here. And then I got into a cycle of trying to fix myself. And it was during this quest of like how to fix the broken Helen that I found a completely new way of being. I popped through the matrix, if you want to call that. I had a massive spiritual awakening. I had to go really deep down into the mud before that happened. I like to do things by extremes, not on a personal choice level, but on a kind of this is my DNA makeup. Like,
Right.
we will have a spoonful and see if we like it. And I'm like, whoa. Then I make my mind up. So it was a really bumpy start in life that saw quite a lot of car crashes, emotional life problems, court cases, violence, and that resulted in a lot of addictions, a lot of ways to try to feel better about the world. And then I had this big awakening, and then I started my healing journey with complete fervor. I put all my addictive energy into doing that. And then through amazing, what I would now say is God, but like also just amazing people and God working through people, came to a much more balanced, grounded place and was really, really keen to be able to share for anybody who'd been in places like I had that there is hope and that there is another way of being and there's another way of living, and we don't have to be so limited with what we think is possible for us.
Yeah.
And get grounded with how we can make that real. Because I thought so many things were for not for people like me,
Right.
and I didn't have the self-belief or the self-worth to really. Oh, I had a lot of self-belief, but not a lot of self-worth, so
Right.
things weren't sticking.
Yeah. It's hard to be in a place where, and you're making, I'm feeling so emotional right now because so much of what you've said I resonate with. And I'm sure that all of you watching are resonating with. And the thing I love so much about what you're saying and how you speak and how you share is that you're speaking to the scar, not the wound. So you have a lightness about you because you've been through it, but you came through it to the other side, and you know how to share these tools. You know how to share what your experiences was, and also like you're called to do that. And that's what energetically is so moving to me, because so many people go through experiences in life and they don't see them as the gift, you know? And it's so hard to say that and for people to hear when you're going through a really hard time. But we have to. What choice do we have but to look at the gift in it, you know, and
Yeah,
why are we on this earth school, you know?
totally. And the gift is in the grit, like the gnarly stuff.
Right.
Like when you have a bit of a like a peachy day, like it's great, but how much are you learning? Yeah, we learn loads when we get the obstacles and the horrible, intense things. And
Right.
there are lots of things in my life where at the point of sort of consciousness or understanding I was then, that if you'd said this will be the making of you or some other kind of statement like that, I would
Yeah.
have been like, you have no idea. Like,
Yeah.
but it's true. And all those adages like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger is also true, but it can make you stronger in a very hard way where you don't let anybody in and you close your heart down. And that's where I got to. Like, I was a survivor and I was furious with the world and I had a skinhead and I wore all black. And like, I was just like,
Wow.
you want to, like,
Yeah.
so I was tough, but I was also really fragile. I had no roots. And it's only when I, learn to grow roots and open and heal and release that then like the true strength comes.
That's so
And
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah,
so beautiful. So I have a few questions I want to ask you if that's okay.
sure thing.
I could talk to you forever, but I just want to make sure that so what are the main three things you did to change? So you talked just now about that hard exterior and how you were processing your life at that time in the grit of it. And so first of all, I'm curious, and then we can segue into this question, but what was the what was that point? Like what was the I'm sure you remember, like what was that moment where you said, this isn't working? I mean, I remember moments for me where I was like, oh my God, Patty, I'm so sick of listening to you. Like when I was in a complaining phase, right? I'm like, oh my God, like just shut up. Like, you know, and I knew I had to change the inner dialogue, right? Like what we tell ourselves. So what was that moment? You know, you're a skinhead, you're in all black, you're like, "Wow, I'm gonna get you." So what changed? Like what shifted? What
So it's been a constant sort of unraveling.
right,
And I don't have any tattoos. And one of the reasons is because I feel like whoever would get the tattoo would want a different tattoo next week because
right.
I've constantly in an evolving state. But I mean, as we all are, I want nothing against tattoos, but I I think like there are many moments of when I've been annoyed with myself and I sat on them like, why am I still so crap at parking? Or why am all of that stuff. The big, but you can have those kind of thoughts and realizations, and maybe you watch a YouTube video or you do a webinar or you do something to do like, I'm going to change. But the actual, and then 6 months later or whatever, it's creeping back in. But the actual ripping through the matrix shift, which was the big push,
Hmm.
was at Glastonbury Festival when I took a huge amount of psilocybin mushrooms for the first time, thinking they wouldn't do anything. So I ate a huge quantity, not knowing anything about dosage.
Oh,
And that was when that was the first time I actually felt truly happy in my life, and I felt like my heart really opened and it didn't close again, like it stayed, like it's done this, but it stayed open.
Right.
So that was a big, huge, huge one. And then a second one in a very different way was investing to work with somebody on my money story, because I'd done loads of healing. I'd come off all the pharmaceuticals. I'd reversed loads of like terminal diagnosis. I was told things I couldn't do. I'd created a business, like things were moving, like I was then
Right.
able to, I'd got rid of PTSD, all this stuff. But like I was always broke, unfed broke, and was jealous of everybody with money. And it was a daily, very loud dialogue. And so
Right.
a huge shift for me and my quality of life also came when I scared myself really intensely and invested to work
Yeah.
with someone to help me sort this out.
I had the same moment. I had exactly the same moment. It was, if you don't mind me sharing really quickly,
Oh, so I'd love to hear.
I um I was going through a divorce that I didn't want. I was, with this person for 25 plus years with a child. And he was wanting this divorce. And I was like, like my house of cards was crumbling right
Right.
around me. I was just, what do I do? And this was when I started, right when I started my business. So I went out to, and at the time I was in LA, went out to Palm Springs and I went to a seminar. And and I was so lit up at this seminar. And then at the end, there was an offer made for coaching. And I was like, man, like this is right up my alley. Like this is exactly what I need to do. My heart was like, yes, yes, yes. And I turned to the one, we were in like the little VIP section. I turned to my friend who was next to me and I was like, I don't know what to do. And she paused and then she looked at me and she's like, Patty, is this how you do everything in your life? And I swear that moment, I'll never forget it. And in that moment, I was like, no, it's not. And I got out with 5 minutes on the clock and I signed up for a very expensive coaching program. And it changed my life. It
Yeah.
changed my life. And so I'm so glad you said that because I believed in myself. I was like, you know what?
Really
That's
good
it.
friend to really love you and not
Yeah.
people please you and be like, babe, come on.
Yeah. Good friend, right? Good friend.
Yeah.
So good. Okay. Tell us. So we're talking today about the frequency of success and energetics and like taking these leaps, right? And today we're going to talk about like when we leap into that unknown, first of all, what are the prompts? How do we know? And also like I want to know before we even go there, what was your growing up life like? Because we want to talk about the journey, right? So for anybody who's not like in the frequency or they're listening to this thinking, well, yeah, but that's not for me. Like we've had that voice as well. So what was your life like? And you know what I'm saying? Let's talk about that a little
Mm.
bit. Yeah.
So growing up, I came from, and like class is a really big thing in the UK, and it's really different in the States, but
What is it?
essentially class. So the class system, like the
Oh,
idea
yeah,
of,
okay. Uh-huh.
so like my grandparents on my mum's side brought me up. Well, my parents worked all the time, and they were really working class. They grew up in a council estate, got married when my gran was 14. They had three kids, two were disabled, and my mum, like my granddad worked 7 days a week as a painter and decorator in a hospital. Like that they shopped at car boot sales. Like there was no money, no money. He used to go through when he picked me up from school, because my parents were at work. He used to go through their kitchen bin and pull out their cigarette butts and steal the tiny bit of tobacco that was still in the cigarette butt to make a rollie with, and tell me not to tell my parents. And so I and my parents were really sort of tight and like frugal and like trying to make ends meet
Right.
every month. But it was, I had clothes, I had food, but I didn't go on holiday abroad when I was little or anything like that.
Right.
And so that was my growing upness. There was enough, but the main thing was that my parents were really anti-money. And so I was
Right.
told, you'll never get a mortgage. Rich people work with money and they're bad, and poor people work with people and they're good. I mean, they literally said
Right.
things like this.
Yep.
And your values you get from your parents unconsciously to up to the age of 7, so you kind of just believe everything that they say is truth and didn't question it. And then I went into the arts because acting for me was the only time like I felt like I was breathing air. The rest of the time I felt like I was underwater or just not part of this world.
Yep.
And then in the arts, there's this really strong hustle, starving artist archetype. And those were the people I hung around with. And I was always, I was on coupon codes and they spurred 1,000 calories just to have 30 tabs open, working out where was the cheapest place to like buy the online tent. And then, by the time you go back to where's going to save you a fiver, the offer's expired. It's like my life was like that. If I put that amount of energy into making money rather than saving money.
Right.
So that was what it was like before. And now it's sort of 360. I mean, what I was stuck making uh, a year for about a decade, I doubled in a couple of months last year.
Hmm.
And so, like this morning, I took a call that is more than I would earn in a year on one phone call. So, like, obviously, it's not one phone call paying me that amount of money, but somebody who agreed to
Right.
work with
Yeah.
me, a
I like a
client.
high ticket.
So,
Yeah.
and a dream client, like
Right.
somebody
Yeah.
who just,
I
is
know.
joyful. That's how life should be whenever it can be, because the
I
hard bits are
know.
always going to be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I've just bought my apartment overlooking the beach, which is what I'm looking at now. And, I was told I'd
Lovely.
never get a mortgage and I did it all on my own. I'm not with a partner. Like this has all been from my own service work.
Yeah.
So it's gone. And also like the biggest win is I now love myself
Right.
like that, and I have faith and I have a connection, and my word would be God, but source, universe, like
Yeah.
that is the biggest victory for me.
Something bigger than just yourself. So there's never
Yeah,
the loneliness, right? We're never alone, really. I mean, that's so beautiful. Um, so on that, so how do you define success then, since we're
I define success as being able to, it's multifaceted, but I think it is being able to love yourself no matter what. And that doesn't mean like approve of all aspects of yourself, but
right,
fundamentally a deep self-worth and self-value, and a vision for your life that not only supports you but is part of supporting others as well, and to have the right balance between being really in love with the moment you're in and what your life is like now,
right,
and a beautiful dream that you're working towards and will give you the tenacity to keep taking another step when the going's tough, because we all get those moments.
yeah,
And in that for me is like community and tribe and
mm,
health,
mm-hmm,
you know, having a
mm-hmm,
healthy body, having energy, having, cultivating wisdom, having life force, compassion, realizing we're not doing it by ourselves in a silo, and
yeah,
that I'm just partnering with a charity that helps work with people who've been abused in childhood and also the abusers. So like stuff like that, like just gives my work another level of meaning because I
right,
know what I'm bringing in. I'm also putting into places that I think are doing brilliant work that I don't want to do that every day myself. Like I don't want
right.
to work for that charity, but I want to be able to support them because they're people who can do that work every day.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
So that's I guess how I would define success, like to love and be connected and to be having that balance between self-love and self-improvement
Yeah, that's
and
beautiful. You're a
self-acceptance.
forever learner as well. I can see that. And Always the emotional intelligence, right? Always being aware of who we're being through all of this process of life, this journey, this game of life. Um, okay, so I'm going to ask you something.
Mhm.
Uh, what does a day look like for Helen? Like when you wake up, because we want to like give everyone what you have, right? So we want to say, okay, so I have a routine I do when I wake up in the morning, and I'll share just a little bit of it and just so everyone's getting these nuggets. So I wake up and I look in the mirror and I say, I love you. And then I say it a number of times, but I really look into my eyes, because I don't know about you, I don't look so great in the morning. So I like it's important that I'm like seeing myself fully, right? Fully, bedhead, like all of it, and seeing myself, like looking into my soul and saying, I love you. And then what I do is I make four statements. I say to guidance, I say, show me where to go, show me what to do, show me who to talk to, and show me what to say. And it takes the weight off of my heart. It's just like, oh, right. Like, I don't need to do this alone. So that's one of my little nuggets that I do almost every day. And when I forget to do that and I'm having an icky moment, like a crappy day or whatever, I'll remember to do that. Like in that moment, I'll do that. So tell us, what are some of your, well, one of your tricks? What's your, yeah,
I used to be quite disciplined with routine, and I'm now not. But I have a big toolkit. So one thing I do every day, twice a day, is pray. That used to be chant. But the order with which that comes in my morning is varied. Sometimes I want to go for a run. Sometimes, I want to journal. Sometimes I want to, I'm just like, I need to clean up the kitchen. And when I pray, I go into gratitude first, because often when we have the impulse to pray, we're like, please, help me today, like take this away from
right.
me, like, we're like,
Or the I want, I want, I
yeah,
want, I
totally.
want.
Um, but then we can get into the like just like so almost like my aim is to get into a place where I'm weeping with gratitude for what I have,
You're gonna make
and
me cry.
then
Yeah.
go into asking and for other people as well, not just myself,
Yeah.
and asking what I need to chat, like what I need to have within me come forward
Right.
so that I have the strength, or I have the, the like the right words for to be heard come through, or that I'm in the surrender, or things like that. And I love
So I'm just
exercise.
gonna pause really quick
Yeah.
because intuitively I'm really getting that somebody who's watching this right now, because I'm literally crying, it really needs to hear this. And so it's okay to ask for guidance. It's okay not to have the answers. It's okay to plead for guidance. And, I did that this week. I was like, what is it going to take? And those are really good questions because you're asking yourself too, like, what is it going to take? And it opens, right, Helen? It just like opens a door sometimes. Even if it's just a door in your heart, you're like, oh, like just that asking,
Yeah.
not demanding, but just saying, I'm doing all I can. What else can I do? What else? What do I need to do? Right? Like, I just want you to really hear this. Whoever needs to hear this, I want you to hear this right now. Okay, go ahead.
And sometimes, like, a big lesson for me was to surrender, and that's why it's in my bio, because I used to, like, I was like this, fists up against the
Right,
world, like,
right.
wouldn't let anybody who hold a door open for me, carry a bag for me. I was like,
Wow.
no, right? So, so defensive. And then to understand that the consciousness that has created everything that is also in the room with me. So if I can't see the way through a problem, like whatever the solution is, whether it's to walk away or to dig deeper or to ask for help, like just passing that up, like opening up that to God, to conscious, like to source, say like, show me the way, help me.
Yeah.
I'm and I for me, that's where life is so much more enjoyable. I clench my jaw less. I,
Yes.
I can go
Yeah.
to bed and sleep soundly. I can trust that, and as I was furnishing my home, it's like, oh, but I want that. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh God, I want my first mattress in this home to be so good. Like, just like let me start really want, like, I'm not a particularly materialistic person. Like, I'm into like the beauty of things, but also the price tag doesn't matter. But this mattress I really wanted, and I was like,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
okay.
allow
Yeah.
me to trust this God. If I'm not meant to buy it, make it really clear. Oh, I
Make me
got it.
mad.
And I'm just every time I get into bed, I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
I know
So
what you
good.
mean. Oh, I'm like crying all over the place. Okay, so on that note, how, like we're gonna break open this leap, right? So how does
Yeah.
one know, right? Because we've practiced, right? So we know what that sounds like when we ask.
Mm.
We've been listening, and that also changes because you're asking, but you're also asking for guidance, right? And it's okay to make it be clear, like you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's okay to request, okay, like show me, but like make it really clear because I don't know about you, but I can be dense sometimes. Like it's like, wait, what? So
yeah.
tell us.
Um, so like the big leaps in my life where like I put all of the deposit and my life savings that I'd cultivated as a self-employed person that had
Yeah,
been my like, this is the way that I'm going to stay alive when I'm old. Like I put all of that into working with a coach like that,
yeah.
right?
Wow.
So like goodbye house, goodbye the like
Oh,
this better work. But
yeah,
I did it because I felt like I had the foot of God on my back going, you go this way now, Helen. And I was like, no, no, this is my money. I've held it so tightly.
yeah,
Like, I don't want, like,
yeah.
this is my safety. This is my, like, ability to look after myself if I get sick. No, you want me to do that? I don't want to do it. Like,
No, yeah.
there's that. There was
Okay, what did
working,
that feel like? Like,
um,
let's get present to that
in
for a
my
moment.
heart. So it's like when you put two magnets next to each other
Hmm.
and suddenly they're doing that.
Okay.
Right, and they're connecting and the magnetic pull is
It's
there.
like just like
So
that, easy.
it's like my heart
Yeah,
goes, oh,
right,
and then my head blows itself out because it's going into logic, right?
right.
That's there's no
Yeah.
more money in the world. This is the
Yeah,
only money you're
and
ever
that's
going to earn.
fear.
Like,
Yeah. So
right.
that's a really
So,
important distinction. So intuition, the prompt feels like love, right? The love that can, it's like a
mm,
like a magnet. And the fear, it feels like that. It feels manic. It feels like worry and concern and like, right? So let's get that distinction. What?
yeah, I wouldn't say it felt like love is, well, I think love is like the power of life force, right? Like
Right.
it's if you think of those stories where women like trucks have fallen on babies and they've
Yeah.
lifted the truck off,
Yeah.
like it's beyond logic. And
Right.
that's not them going, oh, I love my baby, let me get the lorry off.
Right.
That's like life force
Yeah.
moving through you going,
Yep.
it's beyond the rational. And it's like that, but slower. It's
Okay.
not a
Like
truck on a baby.
a knowing, a deep knowing. Okay.
And it's almost like a certainty. It's like
Certainty.
something that fits.
Yep.
And I've had the same thing with getting on a plane to go and work in the Amazon. And,
Yep.
my mind was so scared.
Yep.
Everything about it was scary. And that was game changing. And so I was working with my coach. And so, like, and it's the same thing when I was looking to buy my home, right? I was like, so
Right.
many decisions and doing it on my own. Like, what if I make a choice?
Yes.
And it's a long story, so we're going through it, but like how this one happened,
Yeah.
it's just extraordinary. And
Well, you have to tell
yeah,
us. We
it's
have a few
based in
minutes.
prayer.
If you could tell it really quickly. But the thing is there is a distinction when the
Yeah,
angels, when God, divinity, creation is moving you, like you said, a foot. Did you say a foot on your back? It's
yeah,
like
feels like a foot on my bum.
I've got countless stories. I'm sure we all do. Not everyone's paying attention, but everybody has the ability to tap into this intuition when you're in the leap to know you're going in that right direction. I mean, I've had the angels move me from my car into a cafe quickly. Next thing, a car came in behind me into the cafe. I was like, oh, I
Wow.
gotta go. I was on the phone. I gotta go. just listened, went in and then behind me was fine. I was fine. But if I hadn't, right, where would I, like, I just let it, it was easy. I wasn't scared. I wasn't, it was easy. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's like that piece is so important because, yes, like the fear that its job is to keep us protected and keep us safe and keep us, living in that little, on the gerbil wheel right? So,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think it's that thing, and what I see sometimes when I work with people, and it's that the mind wants to know the answers. And this
right,
is why it's a leap, because the mind wants to know if I invest this, or if I buy this property, if I get on that plane, or if I go on this date, or if I say
right,
yes to this, like
right,
it's gonna lead to this. And then I feel safe.
right.
Like, make me a promise, give me a money back guarantee. Like, I want to know, right? But the heart and like God, I would say, like God is wanting us to know it. And so I'm wanting us to taste the miraculous existence that we're living in.
Wow.
So you can't taste that
Right.
unless you take a risk for what is a risk in the head.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like, oh, just go and put all the money in the casino, like not that kind of risk. But when your heart is going yes, and
Yes.
you feel called, even though it makes no sense here, the intellect, like that for me is like God in the room. That is me going like, I come from a cancer state and I want to go and, cook cordon bleu food for the Queen or whatever it might be. Like, if
Right.
it's in your heart, it's your blueprint. Like, we can try and sabotage it and make it take 10 times as long and 5 times more painful. But if we can trust our heart, we can move into living like a much more expansive, extraordinary life.
Beautiful.
But it
Yeah.
does take us kind of like taking our mind by hostage and going, shh, it's gonna be
Yeah.
okay, it's gonna be okay, I got you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
leaping.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're taking it hostage. I like to think of it putting it in the back seat. I'm like, okay, let's okay. I'm driving. You can sit back there, but you don't
I
get
think sometimes it's fine. I have to like
to
almost like put
drive.
my hand over its mouth, like
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Okay. Um, so that's really good. That's right. That's some good information, you guys. So it's not subtle. I mean, when you're asking for guidance, it's not subtle. It's like you can feel it. It's like
Mm.
a it just moves you from inside, like you said, in your heart. So it's okay to listen to that. It's okay to hear that prompt and know that you're okay. And I'm just imagining us all as little kids, right? Like as little kids, I'm like, Helen, let's go on the seesaw. We're not worried that the other, someone's gonna get off and we're gonna slam and like it's gonna hurt our head and our butt and whatever. We're just like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And then like you see another friend and you're like, I'm gonna go play there. And then the other person falls, whatever. So it's like when we're kids, that's what we do. And we still have those kids inside of us, right? We still have
Sure.
those children inside of us. Okay, dying to hear that story. So tell us really quickly about
Oh,
your place.
okay. Let
Okay.
me let me contract it. So I like my business started to really boom, and my coach was like, Helen, get like buy a flat. And I was like, oh, really? I should buy property? Is that me? Am I can I do that? Is that allowed? Like and so I was like, oh my God, I can do something. So I was looking and got decision fatigue, and I was like,
Right,
I was looking somewhere, am I going to buy somewhere and do it up? What am I going to do? I knew nothing about property. I never, I was brought up being told you'll never get a mortgage. So I just assumed this was somebody else's ballpark. I was just going to rent all
right.
my life. And I was walking down the high street. I was on a second date with a guy who was a big, cheese COO in the city. And he was looking at the window. He suddenly caught this image, caught his eye in the window of this estate agent's real estate for the States. And he went over and he was like, my God, it's so stunning. And it was this huge balcony, sea view, like open plan kitchen, living area overlooking the whole sea, all the way like France is in the distance behind the clouds. And I'd seen this place, of course, because it was just like that view.
Wow.
And it was out of my budget. So I was like, sorry, let's not force something my wound because I'm not looking at that frequency. Anyway, I put offers in a couple of places. They didn't get accepted. And I came back and like where I was renting, they needed me to move out. And I was like, but my plan is to do it like this, and that's my
Yeah.
stepping stones and my logic. No, it's anywhere I want now, and every night has been turned down. And then I thought, screw it, I'm gonna go look at that place to just get in the vibe of like what life could feel like. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking I could buy it.
Get
I
in the
just
vibe, you
came
guys. Did you hear that? She got in the vibe. Okay, good.
to up level the frequency, like to get in
Yeah.
the frequency of
Yeah.
success and to get inspired by beautiful homes because I was looking at places that were getting more and more less appealing to live in.
Oh my God, you're
Um,
inspiring me right now. I actually need to do this. Okay, go ahead. Go, go, go.
when I walked in and I was just like, oh my God, I think I'm meant to live here. And so I put in a stupidly low offer. Like, there's no way anybody would
Right.
say yes to that offer. And he said no. And then we went through a kind of back and forward with the price. And during this time of backwards and forwarding, clients were suddenly popping out of everywhere. And so
Wow.
my amount to play with suddenly went,
Oh, I
and then
just
we
got
just had this
goosebumps like all over
point.
my body. Yeah. Oh my God, that's
The
amazing.
thing I was like, okay, I can meet you there. We can do this thing. So that was, yeah, that's how I'm here. And I've been here a month and my
Oh my
homewarming
God,
party's
this you
tomorrow.
guys, this is such an important piece. I'm so glad you don't go down. You don't lower your standards. You don't lower what you want. You raise up. And then life meets you there, right? That's
Yeah.
the difference. That's amazing. And you're in your place now
Yeah,
with
I'm
a
in my
beautiful
place right
mattress.
now. Thank you. I'm having my housewarming tomorrow night
You
and
having what?
a housewarming.
Oh,
So
I'm coming. I'm coming.
homecoming. I said, "Oh, homecoming. Yeah. People over for food and celebration.
That sounds amazing. Congratulations. Here, let's cheers. Cheers. Um,
Cheers. Thank you.
so happy for you. You guys, is there any last bits that, okay, I'm gonna ask you one more question. If you have any last bits, you let me know. And then I have one more question for you.
My last thing would just be that no matter who you are, what you've been with, what your current situation is, what you tell yourself about yourself, like you're not stuck. It's not over. You're not too old, to this, to that. She's not like me. She's English or whatever. Like whatever is in me is in you,
Yeah,
is in all of the great sages and saints and like teachers of the past we've had, the wisdom keepers. Like we are all connected with this like divine spark. And it's trusting that your past does not have to dictate your future. It's never too late. And this life is precious. We never know if we're getting a tomorrow.
yeah,
And like when we can really get that and live with that, like that's when we can start to not sweat the small stuff and really enjoy being here.
beautiful. You're amazing. Um, I want
Who
to
are you?
ask you one question because this has been so present for me for this whole talk we've had is your little girl inside you. So, what would you say to her right now, your 5-year-old self, 6-year-old self, 7-year-old self? Like, what would you say if she was sitting on a stool in front of you right now with that ocean, the water behind her? What would you say to her?
Oh, she was such a sea baby. She loves the sea.
Really?
Yeah, like I wouldn't get out of the swimming
Oh,
pool. I wouldn't get like I grew up in London, so there was no sea. But yeah, I
wow.
was such a water baby. I still am. For me, it's like even washing up. Like as soon as my hands touch water, I'm
Yeah.
like transported. So what would I say to her? Oh my goodness. I think I would say like keep going
Hmm.
and you're amazing. And no matter what happens, no matter what you do, like you're loved and God is real. Like I was raised as an atheist, so like that
Right.
was
Right.
that was not any concept that I would grasp, but really to know that she's loved and life will get better.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know that. You're looking at the sea with your mortgage.
Yeah. But it's
Congratulations. Yeah.
but also to say like we never know if we're going to lose everything or it's all going to
Right.
change. But like
Right.
the real gift is life gets better because I got better at being me. I got better at living. And that's the gift because I know, like, I really don't want it to happen, but like, if I was to lose everything that I've created, I've still got that connection and I've still got the
Right.
knowledge of what I have done and what I can do. And like, that's the journey, right? It's who
Yeah.
you become on the journey, not where you get to.
Wow. Okay, well, that's what we get to complete with because that's beautiful. Helen, you're such a breath of fresh air. I feel so blessed that you came, here with us today and you're sharing your life with us and your successes and the hardships that you got through to get where you are. And I know that you've reached people today, reached into their hearts. And you guys just let us know how this is landing for you because, you know, for me, I've been laughing, I cried, like I've just had so many emotions come up in this conversation. I just feel so excited. Um, and I know that this is all possible for you guys. So
For sure.
stick with it and trust yourself and listen to those little prompts. And thank you so much for being here with us today. And that's all for today for the frequency of success. And we will see you in the next video. Thank you
Thanks so
guys.
much, Bertie. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.